Hello and welcome to Crash Course Tutorials. Today we're going to be learning Photoshop. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to open up the program and then create a document. So you go up to File, New, and you'll see all these options will pop up. You can name the project whatever you want. And you can also make it different types of documents, like you can do it the size of a paper, or you can do it the size of a web image, or you can do it the size of like a photo. But for now we're just going to leave it at custom. Then you can also change the width and the height of your document. We're going to do ours at 5 inches by 4 inches. Yours might be in pixels instead of inches, and you can just change it by going up here. And then the resolution, we're just going to keep it like 200. And make sure you have either RGB colors or CMYK colors, so in that case it's colored, rather than being on a grayscale or something like that. And the rest of it's just advanced stuff that we're not going to worry about. So you'll hit OK. And then you'll have what's called a canvas appear. So we have our canvas right here, colors, tools, and our layers over here, properties panel up here, and then our tools over here. We're mainly going to be doing with our tools and the colors and a little bit with the properties. We're going to be ignoring the layers and the adjustments that you can make. Also, just as a side note, if you decide you want to change the size of the canvas, you can go over here and select your crop tool, and you can just take it and drag it up and down and change the size of it. To make it so that you no longer have these edges here and you no longer have this crop tool appearing, you can select any other tool that you want. We're just going to select this one. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to create an object, and then we're going to edit the object, rotate it around, and rasterize it. So the object we're going to create is a rectangle. Over on your Tools panel, you'll see right here you have a rectangle shaped tool. You can also, if you right click, it'll give you multiple options of what besides a rectangle it can do. You can also do like a rounded circle, ellipses, a polygon, a line tool, and then custom shapes. So the one that we're going to do is just a rectangle. So you're going to take it, and you'll see your little tool right here. You're just going to take it, and you can drag it as much as you want. You can make it as long or as high or as short as you want. And you'll notice that as a default it filled in black and it doesn't have any outside. So if we wanted to change the rectangle, change its color, we go up here to the properties panel and you change the fill and the stroke. The fill is the inside of the rectangle and the stroke is the outside. So right now my fill is black, but let's say I wanted to make it red. I would just select red right here, or I could double click here and I could mess around with the colors here. Another way you can do it is you can also mess with the colors in here, and then if you go up here it should show you the colors that you messed around with, and you can change them there. Your stroke here is just the outside of the rectangle, and if you want it to be thinner or thicker you can change it right there. If you don't want any stroke outside of your rectangle, you can just do no stroke, which is the slash right here. Alright, so now that we have a green rectangle, Now that we have a green rectangle, we're going to move it around to edit it and to change the size of the rectangle. So the way that we do that is actually fairly easy. You're going to go to your keyboard and you're going to hit Control-T. And you should have what looks like these boxes and this little dot that appears on your circle. So you'll notice if you go to the sides of your rectangle, it asks if you want to rotate it. And as you rotate it, it tells you how many degrees you're rotating it up here. So like if we specifically wanted it to rotate 90 degrees, we could just type that in there, or we could just take it and we could click and drag it around. Another thing we can do is we can change the size of the rectangle. These boxes right here, you can just click and drag like that. If you want your rectangle to stay the same size it was before, you hold the Shift key and then you click and drag. You'll notice that up here they have a reject sign and a check mark sign. This one means to cancel the transformation, meaning to cancel the change you made. And this one means to confirm or accept the transformation. And you'll notice it won't let you do anything else until you either reject or accept the changes you've made. So we're just going to hit the check mark and it'll accept it for us. So now we're going to move on. We're not going to go over things like the color drop tools, the healing brushes, the history brushes, and the stamps, because those could deserve a video of their own. Instead, right now we're going to go over color droppers, colors, and the paintbrushes. So if you look over here, you have what says color right here, and you have what says swatches. In your swatches, you have a variety sort of colors you can use, and in your colors right here, you can change the R, G, B curves of them and change the color right here. Or you can also use your little dropper and drag around and get different colors here. Or if you want, you can double click on this square and you can drag around and do it in here instead. If you ever do computer programming and you want the same color that you have in Photoshop on your website, it told you the code of the color right there. You could also take the color that you designed right here and you can add it to your swatches. And then it will appear right there. And you can use it as one of your swatches too. Another thing you can do is you can use your color dropper. That's this little doohickey tool right here. And you can just select the color that you want. One cool thing it does the one you're selecting, the color you're selecting on the top, and the color you selected in the past on the bottom. So you can compare and contrast the two colors if you're looking for which one's better. And that's a really neat tool. Another neat thing that goes along with the colors is your paintbrushes, like your pens and your tools. If you go over here, you'll see you have a paintbrush. You can right-click on that paintbrush. And then there's all these options right here, what you can select. We're just going to do a paintbrush. And up here you can change the size of your paintbrush. So like you can make it that big, or you could change the hardness of it. And we're going to make it about 65. We're going to go on to our background layer and unlock it so that we can edit on it. And we're going to draw around. Now you'll notice nothing's showing up because we're drawing in white. Sorry about that. We're going to draw in red this time so you can actually see it. And you're just going to draw around like that. If you change the hardness here, that makes it lighter or darker. So like you'll see right here, this one looks more like a paintbrush kind of. Not a paintbrush, a spray paint can. Or you can also change what you're drawing with. So like for example, I could draw with that, and that looks really, really cool. It makes a cool pattern with my paintbrush. Or if you were to draw, for example, with your pen's normally always hard like this, and does stiff, strict strokes, as opposed to your paintbrush, which is more flowy. Another cool thing you can always use is your paint bucket, which is right here on your tools. And your paint bucket is always going to paint whatever color is right here. So let's make it blue. Let's say we want this to be blue. You just select the area and you click, and it should paint bucket it blue for you. So there's how you do that. Another thing, if you do something you don't like and you want to undo it, it's just Control Z and it disappears. But if you want to go back more than one step, it's Control Alt Z and you'll keep going back. And it only lets you go back a certain amount of steps. I believe it's like 15 or something before it won't let you undo anymore. So be really careful about what you do. Another thing you can do is change your layers and duplicate it so that you don't have to redo it. Alright, so let's say we decide we don't like all this stuff that's right here and we want to erase it. So if we go right here, and we right click, we're going to select our eraser tool. And you'll notice this is really, 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 really small. So we're going to make it bigger by going up to the properties and just erase it. Now you'll notice now we have what looks like this checkered board. And this checkerboard just means that there's no longer anything right here because we erased it. So if this annoys you and you don't want the checkerboard, you don't want nothing to be on this, what you can do is you can go back to your paintbrush or your pen, either one would work fine. And you can, one second, let's go back and select that. Paint it back white by changing your color. and clicking it white, just like that. So the next thing we're going to go over is how to use the text tool. If you look over here in this tool selection, you have one that looks like a little T. We're going to click on that tool, and you can click anywhere you want and type anything you want. So I'm just going to type text. Now you'll notice up here, this controls your properties. So if we highlight our text and we go up here, we can change the font of it. So for example, we can change it to impact, or we can make it like sample. The cool thing about Photoshop is they have a wide selection of the different types of text you can use. With certain text, for example, like with Arial, you can like change the text to be italics or bold or underlined. But for this font that I'm in right now, you can't. You can also change the size of your text. Like you could make it bigger and you can make it smaller. You can also change the alignment. It always aligns with this little box right here, if you can see it, that black box right there. It always aligns with that. So like it goes to the center of the black box, or the right, or the left of it. Right here is the color that the text is. So we can change it to any color we want by just clicking on that. And then right here, this is just changing the way it bends and warping your text. So like you can make it arch, or you can make it be like a little fish. But normally you don't use these, normally you just have it set at none. Another way, if you want to, you can resize your text by just doing, again, Control-T and stretching it on out. It's sticking right there. And remember, you have to accept the suggestion, accept the transformation for it to actually go through. Okay, and the last and final thing that we're going to do is we're going to learn how to save the project. To save the project, you go to File, Save As, and you just select where in your documents you want it, you rename it, and make sure the format is a Photoshop file, not anything like a JPEG or anything like that. And you just click Save, and your project's saved. This has been Crash Course Tutorials. I hope you enjoyed learning about Photoshop. Stay tuned for our next video.